Hello and welcome to CTN. To learn more, please visit ciotalknetwork.com. And as always, we invite you to join the discussion on Twitter. Look for this show as #agility. Today's topic is the agility stability paradox. And our guest for today's show is Phil Stevens, who's the Executive Vice President and CIO with Army and Air Force Exchange Service. Hi, Phil. How are you?
It's doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. It's an honor to have you since you are basically your organization serves the Army and Air Force Exchange Service. Would love to understand a little bit about your organization. Could you give us an introduction?
Yeah, happy to talk about that. First, I should call out that while I am the CIO for the Army and Air Force Exchange Service, primarily what I talk about today will be my own views as an individual, professional, and retail CIO. But the exchange is a retailer that serves exclusively Army and Air Force active duty soldiers and airmen along with their families, as well as military retirees. And so we have locations around the globe, many in the continental United States, along with locations in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. We have multiple formats, including a department store format, as well as convenience stores, as well as quick serve retail and other concessions. So we're a really broad-based retailer. And the other thing that makes us a bit unique is that we're also a part of the Department of Defense. So it's unusual.
Yeah, so I'm sure you're having fun dealing with such a scale because I'm sure with global locations and you're having to deal with the demands. And I'm not sure how much a demanding customer would an Army and Air Force military personnel be. What's your experience working with them?
Yeah, so they're absolutely, in many regards, regular folks. They have a tremendously important mission, and we say, and we passionately believe, we serve the best customers in the world. But in many regards, they're just regular people, right? And so when they want to shop, they want what everybody wants. And one demographic we serve is the young soldiers and airmen. They are, say, 18 to 25. And a higher percentage of men than women in the U.S. military. And that presents its challenges. They are highly mobile. They want to access us via their mobile phones, via the internet, and occasionally they come into our stores and, of course, our retail locations as well. And then we serve established families, and they have a whole different set of needs. And then there's the retiree communities. And many of them, of course, love to come into our stores. Even though they're retired, it reminds them that they're still part of the military family. It's a really broad customer base.
Now, this is good to get background on the customers, if you will, that you have. Now, let's talk about the topic. So the reason we picked up this topic is because we have been talking, in fact, the whole commercial enterprises, as well as I'm sure in defense, the agility is a big mantra, right? You want to move faster. You want to be able to be nimble so that you can turn on a dime. Now, all that is great, but at the same time, we cannot forego stability to become nimble and or agile because there is both have a specific, both of them are supposed to be there. So now question here is this truly a paradox, or you say, you know what, I will keep stability as a forefront and agility can tag along whenever it can? Is this a dilemma for you?
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I think you nailed it. I think every organization today is faced with that balancing act of stability and agility. I think on the agility side, even companies that might have thought that wasn't terribly important to their customers would really have to deal with it. For us, the pace of change is significantly dictated by outside forces. As a retailer, we have to react to what other folks are doing in the e-commerce space, whether we want to or not. And in many cases, as an established company, another established company, we have to compete with folks who are willing to operate at a loss for a period of time. We don't get to decide that. It happened to us, and now we're there. So agility is absolutely a requirement. And yet, as you say, we can't forego the stability when customers walk into our store. When they visit our website, they expect to be able to shop. They expect to be able to browse for what they want. They expect to be able to find information about it and make a purchase. That's got to be there every time or we'll lose their confidence. So it is absolutely, as you say, a balancing act.
Now, when you do try to balance these and whatever percentage of focus and resources that you allocate, all that when you are trying to figure out, what are the top challenges that you face? Is it purely dollars and cents issues that how much money I put, or there are others not as obvious challenges that we should know?
Clearly, the cost is one real thing. As I said, some of our competitors have substantial budgets and they don't have the same pressures in the short term to make a profit. It's a challenge. I think another important challenge is legacies. My organization is 120 years old, and that's remarkable, but we're not the only retailer. I previously worked for another large department store that had been actually even older. I talked with some folks from Hudson's Bay before they were acquired. That's a 400-year-old retailer. So we're old, but not the oldest. And that means we have legacy systems that were established before the idea of 24 by 7 by 365 operation. And we're competing with startups that were built for the internet. And that's an element of pressure for us, taking these legacy systems and making them available in an internet age. Another thing, platforms. When I was a developer, we had C or C++ and some third-party libraries, and that was pretty much it. Now, today, there's the broadest array of technology, new technologies that we've ever had to face. From the consumer-driven world, we've got Windows Desktop and HTML and Android and iOS and Windows Mobile. And then from the developer side, we've got XJS and AngularJS and Stentia or Karma and ASP.NET or Node.js, MySQL and NoSQL. We've never had to deal with so much technology. And at the same time, a lot of that technology is cutting edge. If we as a retailer want to differentiate ourselves in this internet world, we have to look at cutting edge technology, which typically is less mature, and as it's less mature, it's less stable. And so back to your paradox, dealing with that less mature technologies, we've got an even greater stability challenge.
So what all you just mentioned, if I had done this show in 2006, which is a decade ago, I would still be hearing legacy modernization issue. So this is going to be something we will have to embrace, that technologies are going to change. There will be some less mature, so maybe you can wait for them to mature a little bit. But then we get over that hump so that doesn't remain an issue. And we start focusing not only on, of course, making sure that the best technology that we could have, mature technology, but also look at the other areas, which could be the organizational structure, the processes, the governance. All of that also does play a role, I'm assuming, in allowing an organization to be agile.
Yes, absolutely. One thing, and I, throughout my career, have from time to time been a customer of Gartner, and I like a couple of their ideas. They're one of many organizations that talk about bimodal governance. I think it's probably more realistically multimodal governance. I also like their tape layering model. And in the pace layering model, they talk about systems of innovation versus systems of differentiation versus systems of records. And those have varying requirements for agility. And so we at the exchange have had to adopt a governance model that scales up and down to meet those various requirements.
So you mentioned about the different models that are proposed by a third-party analyst firm, and definitely that could be used as a source of inspiration. But then whatever you try to do, it is a snapshot today. That framework could basically get tweaked tomorrow. What do you stick to? Where do you hang your hat at the end of the day? Because this is going to be a moving target too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in that regard, we are very much an architecture-driven organization. We have a combination of a technology architect, that's our architecture, that's our vision for the future, and then something I will probably talk more about in a few minutes, like capability value streams, that is our vision for the enhancement to that. And while components of the architecture may plug in or be removed, the underlying architecture itself is designed to be maintained for several years.
So the architecture is one thing. Now, let's kind of abstract it a little bit. When you go and talk to your business leaders who are supposed to be the face of the organization, and of course, they're the ones calling the shots on where we are going to go, they will basically be considering technology as an enabler versus the driver, because they would like to front end with something else. What's that ask of you at the top level in a closed door that would give you what you do?
So we have what we call capability value stream. there are two top-level capability value streams. One is the retail, which is the more customer-facing, customer interaction side of our business. And the other is what we call the enterprise capability value stream, which is more of the back office, all the stuff you need to run an $8.5 billion retailer that the customer doesn't necessarily want to care about or know about. And so those capability value streams it's not a list of projects. It's not a list of technology. It's a list of, exactly as you said, enablers and capabilities that the business needs to grow and serve the customers. Those top-level value streams go into and drill down in various. So we've got one, for example, a store and payment capability value stream is the drill down from the top-level retail. We've got a logistics capability value stream. And so I work with each business unit leader on the drill down that's relevant to them and the capabilities they need to drive their revenue growth, their cost reduction targets, customer service targets. And then I'm the facilitator to bring all of those together into a top-level enterprise vision. And our goal is to maintain a three-level look, a 3-year look at the capabilities we need to drive the business. So, of course, that's fluid. And the idea of a stream is that it can change, and we know that. We acknowledge that up front. So that's our approach.
Let's take a quick break, listeners. We'll be right back. And let's look at this whole capability that you mentioned, Phil, about the business asks you. Is it people dependent? So if I have, instead of you, another leader in another organization, having the request from the business somewhat similar in terms of capability they want, does it become a function of interpretation of how those capabilities that the business wants translates into what IT capability we create? Because that is where, if there is a lack of standards or benchmarks, people could be all over the place, and perhaps they are. So how do we get our arms around that if we have a certain capability being asked by business, it could be translated into somewhat similar form, which is proven, and you have some collective intelligence that is behind it. So you are not going and every time navigating through waters which somebody else has already done so, and not repeat the mistakes. Please stay tuned, listeners. We'll be right back.
When it comes to business, you'll find the experts here. Voice America Business Network.
Predict your company's future by creating it. Is your workforce able to connect, exchange ideas, and share brilliance simply and securely? Create tomorrow, today. Empower your people to innovate anytime and anywhere with secured BlackBerry Enterprise mobility management and document sharing solutions. To learn more, visit blackberry.com/enterprise.
Patient-centered care requires a connected enterprise. Are you ready? If you're looking to scale your healthcare IT efforts, visit redmain.com/health today. Whether it's to connect data from multiple partner solutions or developing software for unique needs, Redmain can help. To find out how Redmain can help your company deliver on the patient-centered care promise, visit redmain.com/health or call 773-693-3919. Visit today.
Your growing business needs a highly productive workforce, effectively communicating and collaborating without exposing corporate data to cyber attacks. Are you looking to balance security and workforce productivity? Move beyond short-term measures and securely scale your business with BlackBerry Enterprise Mobility Management Solutions. To learn more, please visit blackberry.com/enterprise. You are listening to CTN, CIO Talk Network, with Sanjog Aul. To learn more about our program, please visit CIOTalkNetwork.com. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. So business capability asks to how IT interprets it and accordingly plans for it. Could this be a science or it will remain an art form?
there's always going to be interpretation, and there probably always should be. But our approach is to start with strategy, and that is capability-based strategy. So the business may come to me and say, we want 2-day delivery capability for any customer orders. So that's a capability. We don't know the technology yet. We don't know what projects that may involve. And so we go from strategy to planning, and our project management methodologies, our financial planning methodologies are probably like many other companies. And so we'll initially form a project around 2-day delivery, for example, and then we'll work out an initial scope. What exactly does that involve? And then we'll go through a requirement gathering phase, and we'll look at the options that are available. It's in very close partnership with the business, so it's not just IT off on our own, but in partnership with the business. And then we'll develop a detailed plan to deliver it. And then the third, from strategy to planning, so the third sphere is execution. And we manage in what we call work streams that are a combination of the project along with the minor enhancements that happen all the time, the routine maintenance type stuff, along with the daily operation. So that's how we translate from strategy to planning to execution.
So in the real world, we perhaps may not have the luxury to have totally separate team, like you mentioned, multimodal or bimodal, right? So you have to have same people work a little bit of both sides, which is to help remaining nimble, which is agile, and also stability. So let's talk about the people or the teams that we create. So while maintaining stability, for agility, how do you think we can build capabilities to set up, dissolve, and recreate teams on a regular basis? Because that's what will be the ask.
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on. That is exactly the ad. And so the approach we've taken at the exchange is what we call a services model. Lots of folks use it. In a traditional IT organization, you've got developers who develop and operations folk who keep things running. And so the developers tend to push for new features, and the operational folks tend to push for stability. And that tension somehow works itself out. Well, in our services model, we have what we call a services portfolio manager who's responsible to deliver a running business service, such as, for example, logistics systems. You've got to have the software, you've got to have the hardware, it's got to run successfully, and he's got to deliver a stream of enhancements. And so by giving that one person the responsibility for an operational service with a availability metric, with a performance metric he's got to hit, and with a cost metric she's got to hit, the organizational structure itself forces him or her to think about balancing agility, the value stream, with stability, the SLA.
Now, let's talk about the metrics or the targets that you may have. You would have different type of metrics, or perhaps you'll have to reset those very metrics, because when you move from one capability creation to another, the way you would want to set up the way it is going to have the different targets, it's going to have the different speed, and what's the outcome. All of that fundamentally changes. Whereas on the stability side, you have to keep them consistent. And because for stability, you have to have people doing the same thing and they keep perfecting it. So that's where they are measured. And what gets measured gets improved. So on one hand, you're trying to have people stick to a specific type of metrics, type of target, so that they develop that mental muscle, if you will. On the other hand, you're trying to continually change for agility. So we are still humans, if we last remember. How would you accomplish both?
Yeah, absolutely right. And most of our metrics are very familiar to anyone else in the IT world. On the one hand, the classic 3 metrics, availability, and again, it's a business system in operation. So it's not just is the server up, it's not just is the application up, but it is our box is flowing through the distribution center and being sent out to customers. So it's business level availability. It's also performance. It's individual user level performance, but also system level performance. Have I got the whatever the particular application requirement is, sub-second response, for example? for the end user? And then have we got the performance we need to ensure that from the time a box in the warehouse gets from the scanner to the diverter, that then it's down the lane to a given store, that we correctly process the contents of that box and decide where it should go. System level performance and then customer performance, or are we meeting that, for example, 2-day delivery requirements? Availability, performance, cost. So those are the traditional metrics. And then the other that varies a bit is time to value. And that's where our capability value stream model is maybe just a little different than traditional IT. We want to ensure that the time to value is maximized. So each capability that the business requests in terms of the estimated value impact, and then we maximize delivery of the highest impact changes first to deliver the greatest value as soon as possible.
So here, when we talked about the metrics, etc. Now, when you're talking about the decision making that we have to do, and that also after some debate, some deliberations, who should essentially take charge of this? Because in this case, you are doing a different type of discussions than someone who is trying to bring stability to the organization. But at the end of the day, you got the same set of managers. Unless otherwise you earmark that, okay, these managers are going to talk about or deliver agility, and these other stability, you're literally trying to have them split brains.
Absolutely. And I think I look at that in really two parts. There's one, the business part of how decisions get made, and then there's the internal part, and they relate, but they're different. On the business side, I mentioned that we've got top-level capability value streams, retail and enterprise. And there is a corporate committee inside the exchange that own those top-level value streams. It is the senior executives of the companies own those value streams. And so if we want to make a change to those top-level value streams, that group has to approve. But then below that, there are drill downs. And so, for example, whether it's logistics, whether it's store and payment, whether it's credit, the respective business leaders own the drill downs, and they've got significant tactical flexibility in terms of determining the exact schedule, the priority, and adding and changing to those value streams. So I would like to think we've achieved the right balance of strategic coordination and then tactical flexibility. So that, I think, works pretty well. On the IT side, what we've really done with our portfolio managers is we tell them very literally and directly, you are the CEO of a small business. So you have a well-defined customer, though internally we don't talk about internal customers, we really focus on business partners, but you've got this internal customer. You've got to meet their demands. Your customers need capabilities delivered. So they've got performance expectations, they've got availability expectations, and they've got a budget. And so your job as the CEO of this small business is to deliver to that customer's expectations. We got an enterprise architecture, you've got to fit within that. We've got technology standards, you've got to follow those. But fundamentally, it's your job as the portfolio manager to make that happen. So again, it's really delegation and pushing down.
So one is to tell them what to do, but another is to accept it wholeheartedly. We are not truly in a command and control type of enterprise anymore, right? So these are knowledge workers and a manager. So what is your approach besides laying out that this is a structure, go ahead and make that happen, to have them come on board? Because what you're essentially trying to do is to get them out of their comfort zone, where there is sometimes lack of structure or they're asked to think outside of the box.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. Many of us have grown up in the IT field, and we're used to either being a developer or an operations guy or a DBA, whatever the case may be. And now, instead of delivering tech or software enhancements, we're asking you to deliver a service and a stream of enhancements that will provide value. So you're absolutely right. It's getting them out of their comfort zones And it's really, one, it's not overnight. You don't flip a light switch, unfortunately. It is a combination of coaching and training. It is a combination of mentoring and partnership. IP senior management, business senior management, and these portfolio managers. We meet regularly. I and my business peers will meet with the portfolio managers individually on a monthly basis. We'll talk with them about our expectation, what they need of us, what we need from them. And it's really been a process of development and growth for the portfolio managers because exactly as you said, this isn't the old way of doing IT.
Okay, so when we are looking at the stability, the traditional processes that we have are far more integrated. And for agility, we might have to decouple or purposely build a modular stack, if you will, which can be pulled apart or put in different combinations on a dime. And that's what will allow agility to happen. So can we really say we are going to have stability and agility among the same set of processes inherent by the way you design them? And this would be an interesting one to explore, but please stay tuned, listeners. We'll be right back and continue the conversation.
From the boardroom to you, Voice America Business Network.
Your growing business needs a highly productive workforce, effectively communicating and collaborating without exposing corporate data to cyber attacks. Are you looking to balance security and workforce productivity? Move beyond short-term measures and securely scale your business with BlackBerry Enterprise Mobility Management Solutions. To learn more, please visit blackberry.com/enterprise.
Patient-centered care requires a connected enterprise. Are you ready? If you're looking to scale your healthcare IT efforts, visit redmain.com/health today. Whether it's to connect data from multiple partner solutions or developing software for unique needs, Redmain can help. To find out how Redmain can help your company deliver on the patient-centered care promise, visit redmain.com/health or call 773-693-3919. Visit today.
Predict your company's future by creating it. Is your workforce able to connect, exchange ideas, and share brilliance simply and securely? Create tomorrow, today. Empower your people to innovate anytime and anywhere with secured BlackBerry Enterprise Mobility Management and Document Sharing Solutions. To learn more, visit blackberry.com/enterprise. You are listening to CTN CIO Talk Network with Sanjog Aul. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. So traditional processes are far more integrated when we talk about stability. But then for agility, you got to decouple them or think about them as modular or even create them as modular. Now, we have to be able to do this in a balanced manner for the agility-stability paradox to be effectively addressed. What's the secret sauce here?
I'm not religious about best of breed versus buying an integrated package. At the exchange, we're probably lean more towards the best of breed approach. And so even for our enterprise systems, we have a relatively decoupled model. And we use middleware to connect those various separate systems. And that middleware scales from enterprise level systems talking to services and down to microservices. And so we are relatively decoupled. For other enterprises that buy entirely into one family of products, I think that can work for them. I know other retailers do buy largely into the Oracle set of products, for example, or an NCR family of products. And I think that can be a great approach. And then integration is less of a critical issue. But for us, and with our architecture, we absolutely lean towards the decoupled.
And when you go for the decoupled, when you say we're going to go, you're in a way saying, okay, I'm going to put a stake in the ground saying we will go the agile route. Does stability suffer?
It stands. And while on the one hand, it is, of course, absolutely true that it's a balancing act, stability and agility. Put another way, though, I would say it's not one or the other. So they're both design requirement, and we've got to come up with a solution that solves for both. So, yeah, there absolutely is a tension there. And so in the decoupled model, we certainly have to do a lot more integration testing, a lot more system-level testing than if we went with a more monolithic package-oriented approach.
Coming to the agility, we have to make decisions real time, and that too, those decisions are not just a report, but essentially something actionable that you could deploy right away. And then at the same time, you want to make sure that those real-time changes at no point go and disrupt what people are used to, the predictable processes that we are running, and already assigned workforce. How do you achieve both?
It's a real challenge, and something you alluded to earlier plays in. And again, our model is strategy, plan, execute. So at the strategy level, we have value streams that describe what we should be doing. We have plans that take that down into a series of steps that need to be executed. Since all of those things play into what we call work stream, then work streams include projects, but they also include what we internally call SRs, a service request. And so I want this small change. I want them to behave this way. And then operational effort. It's time to update tax table. It's time to update the employee performance system. And projects, initiatives, and operational efforts are all captured in these work streams. And by working within IP and with our business partners with agreed upon value streams, what we should be doing, and work streams, what we are doing, we reduce the risk that somebody's going to do something uncoordinated and impact other projects or efforts. But to a point that you made earlier, we wish we had the luxury on every system to have entirely separate support organizations and entirely separate new projects organizations. That's not the case. It tends to be for us that for our more mature systems, what in one model it's called a system of records, we've got mostly a support organization with a relatively minimal enhancement and development capabilities. And then in, again, what according to that same model is called a system of innovation, you've got largely a new development capability with more minimal support. And by trying to find the right balance of new development and support, and by using the work streams as the common ground to bring those two groups together, I'd like to think we're mostly successful in balancing stability and agility.
So we know that agility is going to somehow cannibalize stability or introduce risk. So what would be a formula for, say, in your organization, in your context, at how much risk are you willing to take? Because there will be risk, right? Because you're moving away from stability-based approach to making it more on demand and also with the same set of resources. So at the end of the day, when you say you're reasonably successful, and of course it's not a perfect science, so that means somewhere something, and I'm not painting a negative picture, trying to understand how much risk it's okay for an organization and its corresponding IT to embrace for them to achieve this balance.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And on, for example, the information security front, we are very risk aware, and we have risk thresholds, or risks we're willing to take and risks we're not. On a more operational and business focused front, it's a little different than that. Again, we go back to the service level agreement, the availability and performance. And so the business has a value stream they want us to deliver, and we've got availability and performance expectations along with costs that we've got to hit. And so as we plan those enhancements of deliver the value stream, we look to do that in a way that maintains the availability and performance. We're not always successful. Sometimes we have unexpected outages, and then we go back after the fact. First, we operate very closely with our business partners. We communicate very transparently as events unfold and after the fact in reporting. But after the fact, we'll go back and we'll do a deep dive root cause and update our processes and try not to let that happen again. But it's not so much a formula as a target, an SLA that we're trying to achieve.
Now, before you introduce this whole agility component into an otherwise stable environment, and of course, this has already happened, so maybe it's hindsight 2020, and you can relate to it. What changes did you have to make? What expectations you had to set and reset for the people below you and the people above you so that you could get this paradox handled?
Yeah, great question. On the business partner side, so outside of IPs, there were some silos in every organization I've ever been in, including currently. There were some silos we had to talk our way through. Business leaders tend to have a relatively well-defined area of responsibilities, but it's that connectivity and many other really important things. And in order to deliver a business service, all of that has got to be working. And talking through those silos and then inside of IPs, again, our people have tended historically to have responsibility for either development or operation, not both, in delivering a service. And so the transformation on the IT side was really about coming to grips with the services model and finding portfolio managers who had the mindset to be the CEO of a small business, who could understand the customer requirement, develop a plan to deliver that requirement, and then deliver it in a cost-effective way on an ongoing basis. And we've been fortunate that our managers have made that transition. They've made the adjustments. But again, it wasn't necessarily their first intuitions.
Now here, whatever you just mentioned in terms of the stability and you going and working with the people within IT, but then here, the agility and stability is actually spanning the business context versus just IT. So that means you will not be just IT, and that means you will be in an influencing position versus in a controlling position. So how could you lead from the middle while you're the top dog on the IT side, but you're essentially trying to make an impact on the business where you don't have 100% control over?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And very few CIOs have the luxury of also seeing the CEO. So it's absolutely true. And that's where I'm fortunate, of course, in the first place. The CEO of the exchange, our director, is an amazing man who really gets the importance, and especially now in history, the importance of technology in terms of the retail business. So having the CEO's understanding is helpful. And then I got his buy-in, as well as our entire executive group buy-in to the concept of value streams. And the first time when we first delivered these value streams, we had a common picture of what we as an organization were trying to achieve. And the executive group said, yeah, that's what we want to do. And so if a person changes something at that top level roll-up, if a person says, I'm responsible for logistics and I want to do it this way, we've got a mechanism to facilitate that discussion. And I'm fortunate on most days and other days less so, that the CEO has asked me to be the facilitator of that discussion, the keeper of the value stream. So what is it that we as a company want to do, and how do we integrate new requirements to that? What has to get pushed out? What are the priorities? So I'm not the decision maker by any means, but I am the facilitator of the discussion.
So in your case, you were lucky, I would call, where you have a great leader who, on the business side, who you can interface with, build strategies together, etc. Not everyone can claim that, but they still have to be able to support this agility stability paradox. So do they just give up, or are there other strategies they have where they can influence effectively along the business line, not just IT?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I acknowledge I am truly lucky and blessed. Sometimes it is more hard to come to an agreement. What do we need? And my experience there is really that smart people looking at the same set of facts will usually come to the same ultimate decision about what needs to get done. And if they're not agreeing on what we should do, it's possibly because one of them has either a different set of facts they're operating from or a different set of priorities. And that's where, as the CIO, my job is to draw out those facts. How are you making that conclusion? How are you getting there? And is there something that I don't, or that we, the rest of the business, don't? And then in terms of priority, absolutely, I have an operational responsibility, and in some sense, that's my top priority, and each business leader does. But ultimately, we're all here for the corporate mission. And I'm, again, very fortunate to be in an organization that is very mission-focused. And if anybody gets confused momentarily, I think, so technology is the most important thing, somebody will shake me out of it and say, we serve the best customers in the world, soldiers, airmen, and their families. That's our mission. And I'll come to, or other business leaders, we all ultimately agree on that's the mission we're serving.
Let's take a quick break, listeners. We'll be right back, and let's talk about the very people who work with us, that is, the employees of an organization. So while we are trying to build our business, which is customer-centric, and we want to add most value, but everyone who comes to the office thinks about where they work, what they work on, authority they have, and how whatever they do on a given day or on an extended period of time is going to align to their career growth or is going to support their overall performance improvement. Where we are trying to get is we are trying to put the customer first and employee second, but the very fact that you have to do most of the answers that you provided, Phil, today are essentially where people internally have to be the one who have to change their mindset and or have to go the extra mile. But if the alignment is not to them, then how would you achieve the goal which are going to help the customer? So the big question here is, should the employee come first above customer in order to achieve this agility, stability paradox? Please stay tuned, listeners. We'll be right back.
The business community's first choice in Internet Talk Radio, Voice America Business Network.
Predict your company's future by creating it. Is your workforce able to connect, exchange ideas, and share brilliance simply and securely? Create tomorrow, today. Empower your people to innovate anytime and anywhere with secured BlackBerry Enterprise mobility management and document sharing solutions. To learn more, visit blackberry.com/enterprise.
Patient-centered care requires a connected enterprise. Are you ready? If you're looking to scale your healthcare IT efforts, visit redmain.com/health today. Whether it's to connect data from multiple partner solutions or developing software for unique needs, Redmain can help. To find out how Redmain can help your company deliver on the patient-centered care promise, visit redmain.com/health or call 773-693-3919. Visit today.
Your growing business needs a highly productive workforce, effectively communicating and collaborating without exposing corporate data to cyber attacks. Are you looking to balance security and workforce productivity? Move beyond short-term measures and securely scale your business with BlackBerry Enterprise Mobility Management Solutions. To learn more, please visit blackberry.com/enterprise. You are listening to CTN CIO Talk Network with Sanjog Aul. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. So whatever we discussed today, while processes or technology improvements or dealing with the business, all of that involves people and our internal people, that is employees. Why would they want to go beyond their comfort zone and or try to go to bat for you as a leader if it's not in alignment with what they want to do when they come to office and overall in their career? So should we and are we focusing on our employees first in order to serve the customers as an end goal?
Yeah, that's a really important question, and I think one that all of us need to spend time on and strike the right balance, find the right approach. I would say for the exchange, we passionately believe and frequently remind ourselves we serve the best customers in the world. And it's so much part of who we are and so much part of what we do that I think if I had to pick one of those things, employee first or customer first, I would say we all, because of our mission, we put our customers first. Now that said, our corporate motto is family serving family. We say it every day. We mean it. It's not just a platitude. By that, we mean it is our work family serving our military family. And when we at the Exchange talk about our work family, we're not completely unusual. I've worked for other retailers, and many of the folks had long tenure, and talk with my peers in the retail CIO community, and they've got employees with 30 and 40 years of service. So do I. But as DoD employees, many of us know that we're going to be with this organization for our career. It's a kind of a lifetime choice and a lifetime commitment. And that means we all care about each other. These are the people we're going to be working with for decades. In some cases, literally generations. I've got a number of folks in my organizations that are third generation exchange. Their grandparents were exchange employees. Their parents were exchange employees. Or a parent was an exchange employee, and they're an exchange employee. And these folks aren't going to let the company down. They're not going to let their family down. They're going to deliver, and they're going to do what it takes. For us, that balance is, I would like to think, a little more natural. It's our work family, and it's our military family, and we're here to serve with both.
Now, if you talk leadership and the culture of the organization, of course, this has to be fundamentally aligned to achieve whatever we want to achieve. And in this case, we're talking about the agility stability paradox. So what changes we would need to make as organizations? So of course, everyone is in middle of this to some extent, including yourself. So what changes fundamentally in your thinking that you're bringing? What changes in the people who are other leaders and managers who you are collaborating with have to bring in themselves in order for us to have the right type of team which could enable this change where you will have a good balance between agility and stability?
I think our organization over history, as other organizations, have had some silos. And some of that had to do with our military heritage, where our former military commanders, now civilian director, changed every couple of years. And the leaders of various business functions had to operate very independently, knowing that they would have a new boss in 18 months or 2 years. So we've had these silos, and the change that's really needed to happen is that while we've always supported the corporate missions, we haven't always been clear about what is the corporate strategy, what is the agreed upon integrated strategies. And so developing the capability value stream that we all buy into as a team, and we agreed, yeah, that is how you do our mission. We need that value stream to deliver our mission, and some of it will be in the favor of my group, and some of it won't be, but that's what we as a company need. So that was one cultural shift that needed to happen. Again, not so much tearing down silos as getting people to agree on a strategy that crosses silos. And then inside of IT, it's very much been a shift of mindset from delivering a product that we can throw over the wall, like a software enhancement, to delivering a service that has to actually work. And it has to work on an ongoing basis. And I own that. And so it's really been a transformation from an IT perspective as well.
Any last message that you would say, a sentence, if you will, which you would offer as a form of inspiration and or motivation to other people who are trying to dabble in this agility stability paradox?
There is no silver bullet. So keep talking with your business partners, keep talking with your IT teams, and you'll get through it. It's all about collaboration.
On behalf of our show and the listeners, I'd like to really thank you, Phil, for sharing your thoughts on how organizations and its people can come together, realign themselves, rethink what they do every day, to essentially and effectively address this agility stability paradox. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
And listeners, hope you enjoyed the conversation. Like us on Facebook, search for CTN, that is CIO Talk Network, and be sure to follow us on Twitter and join our LinkedIn community. Thank you again for listening to CTN. This is Sanjog Aul, your talk show host. Till next week, take care and God bless.